it was quite a privilege to be offered the opportunity to work under his leadership, because he only offers that to people he believes can really reflect his values and uphold the reputation and the brand that he's built over 10 years. I had a fixed belief in my mind, an inaccurate one, that it would be some sort of a demotion for me to move from a so-called professional executive type of role to working as a fitness coach. I had to let go of a former identity in order to embrace a new one. It is never too late to transform your physique, your mindset too, but your physique. It's never too late. You're never too old. It's the best gift you could give to yourself, and it will have an impact on your health, longevity, fitness, and well-being.
Welcome to the Thought Leader Revolution with Nikki Ballou. Join the revolution. There's never been a better time in history to speak your truth, find your freedom, and make your fortune. Each week, we interview the world's top thought leaders and learn the secrets of how they built a 6 to 7 figure practice. This episode has been brought to you by eCircleAcademy.com, the proven system to add 6 to 7 figures a year to your thought leader practice.
Welcome to an exciting episode of the podcast, The Thought Leader Revolution. I'm your host, Nikki Ballou. And boy, do we have an amazing, exciting guest lined up for you today. Today's guest works directly with the GOAT mentor himself, Amber, the Hammer Camera at Hammer Fitness. She is one of the top leading health and fitness and body transformation coaches in the entire world for women who are looking to bust the myths and embrace the reality of being a powerful, strong, beautiful, and confident woman. I am speaking, of course, of none other than the one, the only, the legendary Janet Brown. Welcome to the show, Janet.
Thank you so much. I've never received such a beautiful and enthusiastic introduction in my entire life. So thank you so much. That feels really great.
Awesome. I'm glad. So Janet, tell us your backstory. How'd you get to be the great Janet Brown?
Oh my goodness. The backstory. Thank you for asking. I feel like I've lived many, many different lives, many different chapters. And I guess the first thing I love to tell people, Nikki, is that I'm from St. John's, Newfoundland. So cool. That place is near and dear to my heart. It really, it's a beautiful place to be from. I think it taught me a lot of value in my life. And that's where I started out. And then when I went to high school and university, that was in Nova Scotia. So I moved to Halifax and then stayed there for a little while to complete my education. I did my Bachelor of Science in Nursing. So my path, I thought I was going to be a nurse. It was just really, since I was small, I always wanted to do something healthcare related. And so I graduated from Dalhousie with my nursing degree. And then I moved to Ontario because my parents were living here at the time, and got my first jobs as a nurse. And it was back at a time, you might remember this, in the mid-90s when Mike Harris, I believe, was the Premier of Ontario. And the move was really to shut down a lot of the brick and mortar hospitals, which was theoretically a good idea because a lot of money was put into sickness versus health promotion. And one of the mandates he had was to try to cut back on healthcare costs. So he actually cut back on nursing jobs and started replacing, a lot of the hospitals were replacing nurses with registered practical nurses, which meant I really didn't see a future there, Nikki, to be honest. I thought, I'm either going to have to move to the States if I want to get a job, continue my career as a nurse, or go back to university and do a master's degree in nursing and become some kind of a researcher or an educator. And so what happened was I looked to another industry. So I joined the pharmaceutical industry in the late 90s. And it was a major career shift. I kind of left something I thought I would do forever. And that industry, I was in sales and marketing roles in various therapeutic areas, got to, I had great, wonderful experiences in the pharma industry in terms of a learning perspective and a learning opportunity. And then did that until 2016. And I realized in 2016, I have two sons, and they were born like in 2008 and 2010. So they're 13 and 15 now. And when I was working in the pharmaceutical industry, I was so focused on my career because I was always brought up that you have to do well and excel at things. So I didn't really know where to stop excelling at my career versus where do I start focusing on excelling at being a mom. And I tried to do both, but I was outsourcing everything when my kids were really small. I had a nanny. Everything was outsourced to, like, from the childcare to the food preparation. And it really was following my career path as an executive in business was not aligned with my value set anymore. So I left the industry and then started consulting for pharmaceutical industry because that's what I knew. That's what I'd really built my background on. And then a couple of years ago, Amber had mentioned to me, would you be interested in doing coaching? And a little bit of a background. I apologize for jumping back and forth, but I met Amber in 2017. So I was recognizing the need that I needed to also focus on my health and fitness. So I was always, a skinny girl who just really didn't eat enough or exercise at all. And so I worked with Amber in 2017. And I've been working with him ever since. And as you come to know Amber, it was quite a privilege to be offered the opportunity to work under his leadership because he only offers that to people he believes can really reflect his values and uphold the reputation and the brand that he's built over 10 years. So here I am now, 2 years after I started working as a coach with his division, Lady the F Up, under Rima and Lexi. And it's a long backstory, and that's a little bit of the highlights.
What I really respect about you, Janet, is that a lot of the people in this industry are millennials and Gen Zers, right? They're younger. You're from my generation, right? The Gen X world.
Yeah.
You've got kids. You've been around the block, and you haven't been infected with the woke mind virus that a lot of these younger kids have been infected with. And so you think clearly, which I really, really respect. And your story's a powerful and fascinating one because I think it's the story of a lot of women. A lot of women over the age of 45 have gone through something similar to you. They've been in a career, they've been a mom, they have been getting mixed messages from the culture about what's good for them to emulate to be. Mm-hmm. And you've gone through all that, you figured it out to a certain extent, and you're now wanting to help other women figure it out. That's what I think is powerful about your backstory. So kudos.
Thank you.
So Janet, you've been doing this work with Amber, Rima, Lexi, and the team. What made you decide to take them up on their offer to join?
There's a few things that made me know that I was ready. First of all, my personality is such that I don't just lightly make decisions. I'm really thoughtful about every decision that I make. And I've made some pretty big pivots in my life, as I just mentioned, in terms of career shift in my 20s and moving to a totally new industry. And now, I'll be perfectly honest, and I've actually posted about this on my social media. I felt I had a fixed belief in my mind, an inaccurate one, that it would be some sort of a demotion for me to move from a so-called professional executive type of role to working as a fitness coach. And I think a lot of that was part of my identity that I had to let go of a former identity in order to embrace a new one. And I also I was under that influence, like other people are, that fitness professionals are. There's a lot of that bro science, that folklore type of science behind it, and that it really didn't require. And I think it's true. It's not a highly regulated profession. I think one day it will be and should be. So that means there's a lot of all comers in the field that shows like high degrees of ranges of skill. So I guess I just didn't really perceive what it could offer me from a mentally, bless you,
Thank you.
a mentally challenging perspective. I thought, is my brain going to be stimulated by the work? And are people going to think less of me because I'm doing this versus what I used to do? And my God, Nikki, I realized that this is the most challenging work that I've ever done. It's challenging on all levels from an intellectual standpoint. You have to understand nutrition science. You have to understand biomechanics, exercise science, even like how machines work, like the exercise equipment. There's like a science behind the physics behind all of that. And then the most difficult part is literally how to implement or create behavior change in an adult, which is the most difficult thing. People who want something for themselves, even so badly, they want to get fit, lose body fat, gain muscle, whatever it might be. There's so much in their own way, and they need someone to help them, change that pattern. So the decision to start to be a coach was me saying, first of all, a trust in Amr and a trust in what he's built and what his sisters built with the business, with Lexi. And just ready to try something new. And it was the best decision that I've made thus far in terms of career choice.
Excellent. You're from Newfoundland, and my ex-wife was from Newfoundland, and so I spent a fair amount of time with her traveling back and forth to St. John, and it was a pretty special place. It was a place where I got to go to restaurants that served caribou medallion.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Did you have to do the initiation where you kiss the codfish and it's called a screech-in? Have you ever heard of that tradition?
I've heard of it. They didn't make me do it. Thank God.
I know it's kind of a ridiculous thing, but it's supposed to be to, indoctrinate you into the culture. And if they make you drink a lot of really high, like I actually don't drink alcohol anymore. At one point I did, alcohol. But I've never drank hard
screech?
liquor. And that's
like, what is that? Screech.
It's like rum from the bottom of the barrels. The history of it was that I think bootlegger times, when rum would come in big barrels, that it would be poured in and bottled. And then what was left that had kind of leached into the wood of the barrel, they would then try to make their own rum from it. So it was super high concentrated alcohol. So that's why they call it screech. Point of the story is that's part of this screech-in process. And if people don't drink, then they just make you wear like a sou'western cap, which is like a fisherman's cap, and kiss a codfish. So I'm glad you didn't have to deal with that.
Yeah. No, I'm not a drinker. I've never had alcohol in my life, but I certainly appreciate the wonder of Newfoundland. People there are just really friendly, really kind, really nice, just good people, real people. It's pretty awesome.
I'm glad you got to experience that.
Yeah. So, you are someone who's unafraid of making big changes, and your personal fitness journey was a big change. Why don't you unpack that for me?
Sure. I guess if you were to look back at me when I was younger, growing up in Newfoundland is part of this too. Nobody really cares there about your physical appearance too much. And that's nice. You're really judged for who you are as a person, your character. It's not about what size your house is or what size your body is. But I grew up therefore with a little bit of a disconnect between, and the diet is very poor. That's one thing, high fat, rich diet. So I grew up with not really being thoughtful about food or exercise at all. And so I was a chubby teen, and I just thought that would be me forever, chubby teen. Then I went on, like a lot of women have done. When I speak to my current clients my age, they go on their like starvation diet where they go super low in their calories. And I got really skinny. I thought it was great at the time. And then kind of didn't have a great relationship with my body at the time, to be honest, because I wasn't nourishing it properly. And then when I resolved all that through a whole lot of self-work that I did, reading a whole lot of self-help books, to be honest, and figuring out, how can I be more healthy with my relationship with food. So I managed to get past that unhealthy relationship. But I was always kind of a skinny girl. Then I ate enough, but I just didn't exercise because I was busy with my career. And so it was after I had my second child, I saw a picture of me on a beach. And it was a picture that was taken, intended to be a flattering picture. But I looked at it and I'm like, gee, Janet, everything's heading south. Like women, they look at their butts and they look at all that. I'm like, this is not the look that I want to have. And so I started doing, again, a bit of research on my own. It's like, what do I need to do? Is it lose more weight? And I realized it's not lose weight, it's build muscle. And so I finally decided to, and I was 43 at the time. So I was a late starter with respect to resistance training. And I didn't even know it was called resistance training at the time, to be honest, but I knew I needed to do something. So that's where I discovered this whole world. And like anyone who's brand new to fitness, and Nikki, maybe it sounds probably you've always been fit because I see it's in your boys as well. But for a woman who's never exercised before, that initial stimulus is so beautiful. They call it like newbie gains. And you start seeing that curve, and it takes a long time to build muscle particularly women in their 40s and beyond. But when you start to see that change, it's honestly, it's an addictive feeling, and the endorphins that you get that you never even realized existed. And when you start that to work out and you start to see my effort is resulting in something really positive, it's a life-changing experience. And I still, every day when I talk to clients, new clients or clients I try to transfer over that passion and that, trust me, it is so transformative. So that's a little bit of the history of that.
Why do you think it's so difficult for women to gain muscle?
I think physiologically, without getting into the heavy science, obviously testosterone can have, for males, that helps them with their muscle building efforts. For women, it's just from a hormonal perspective, our bodies are not as primed for it. Another reason is just the amount of, a lot of women fear building muscle as well. So there's two things. There's one thing, it's hard to build muscle in general because as women, we're less inclined. We're more catabolic, especially after the age of 35 as well, where a muscle wants to really break down. So we have to fight against that. But then there's also, and particularly women of my generation, the Gen Xers, as you say, we were brought up to not want to be muscly. So when I say to a client, you need to gain muscle to get to your body fat loss goals, it's very counter to what they believe is the way to do it. So they say, I don't want to get bulky. And I say, I've been working out for so long, trying not to get bulky, but trying to build muscle. And it's difficult. So teaching women that building muscle is a means to the fat loss goal. If they don't want muscles, it's a means to get to the fat loss goal. So to answer your question, why is it so hard for women? One, I think they resist it a little bit and don't realize their strength. And so you often see women with light weights and their bodies could handle so much more to stimulate a response. And also just physiologically, our bodies are not as primed for muscle building as our male counterparts.
Our male counterparts, nicely put. Nicely put. So the Gen X woman, the boomer Gen woman, bought into the bullshit lie that a woman shouldn't have muscles, a woman shouldn't be bulky, as if it's so easy to get bulky. Like I told my sweetheart, Teresa, I said, honey, she says, I don't want to get big. I go, honey, even if you tried, it would not be so simple for you to get big.
Yeah.
So what do you believe is the source of that incorrect, misinformation fueled belief? And how do we help these women discard that belief and embrace a better belief?
You presented that very well, because this is what I have these conversations with my clients so consistently. I think a little bit of is that when we were in our Gen Xers, when we were in our 20s, teens and 20s, skinny was in, the flat butt was in. It wasn't the J-Lo and the Kim Kardashian, more voluptuous, curvy look. It was the skinny look. There used to be the joke. I mean, it would be a woman would say to her husband, she'd say, "Oh, does my butt look big in this?" And it was a big insult if the woman didn't want her bum to look big. And now everyone's looking for these big bums. And so it's a very different, it's almost like a paradigm shift about what the beauty is supposed to look like is one thing. And then I feel that I do believe muscle for women is considered more androgynous for our generation and not a feminine thing. And they just want skinny and not muscle, not realizing this is actually a better answer for you. Muscle is perceived as just a structural thing that we have. What women don't realize is that muscle is a metabolic, it's an endocrine organ that has metabolic function that is going to, first of all, help with prevention of disease and longevity, but it's also going to be that metabolic engine to allow them to, first of all, even eat more without gaining weight, but also that muscle is going to just help them achieve their fat loss goals. So it's really a paradigm shift. And I do think the younger generation, perhaps through social media that they're exposed to images of a more, I think, full woman versus that skinny look. And also just an awareness of their presence in the gym is not as foreign to a younger person than a woman who grew up where you just don't go to a gym, and if you do, you just go to the cardio equipment.
It's a very perceptive answer, and I really appreciate you taking the time to break it down in that fashion. So a big part of your job is educating and retraining the mind and the thinking process of the Gen X and Boomer woman. Is that a fair statement? And if it is, break it down for me more.
It is a fair statement, and this conversation is actually helping me realize that more and more, that this is a very common theme. And so, yes, I have a client that is of healthy body weight, but she has some deposition of fat around her midsection, around her belly, which typically can happen to women in perimenopause or menopause. We just have more of an accumulation of fat in that area versus hips and thighs for the younger generation. So that central kind of fat that happens, a woman really, the goal is, I just want to lose that. I just want to lose that. And so they want to undereat significantly to be in that calorie deficit to lose that. But what's happening is they're actually eating away further at their existing muscle mass. And so I'm having the conversation with a client currently that is, you actually need to eat more and do resistance training to actually lose that fat. So it's so counterintuitive. And it's requiring lots of repeat messaging, because unfortunately, this is another thing that we were brought up with, is that diets were like 800 to 1,000 calories a day. I remember diets of 800 calories for a woman, and it is nuts. And anyone who's listening, who's on any type of a diet, no matter if you could be 5 feet tall, if you're on 800 calories, it is unhealthy and wrong and not based on science. So that's just my 2 cents.
Well, thank you for your comment. I mean, my job, what I do for a living is I help, entrepreneurial clients who are in the service type industry. So various coaches, consultants, those types of folks, to really think through their messaging so that they are perceived by their ideal target market as the authority, as the go-to thought leader in their space. And one of the things that I've been excited about during my work with Amber and with the team is I see what you do as an organization is very different from what most people do and what most people talk about. You have taken the paradigm of bodybuilding, essentially, which is where Amber came from, and said, look, the best way for a human being to be healthy and be vibrant and strong is to build their body. That's what bodybuilding essentially is, right? It's about building your body. It's not just the aesthetic of it, although the aesthetic's wonderful and pleasing and awesome and all that stuff. It's about building the body, creating a structure that allows the individual to have a vehicle that'll take him through day-to-day life in a way that makes them feel good, makes them feel strong, makes them feel capable, makes them have a level of self-confidence that they maybe have never had or had only when they were much younger or kids or involved in a sport. And I used to be a fitness coach myself many years ago. I worked with Olympic gold medalists. I mean, I had a background in this world. And I realized that nobody else thinks this way. Nobody else speaks this way. And especially when I began interviewing Rima and Deborah Bash and Mia and now yourself, I saw that your message to women, it's very important. And as successful as Lady the F Up is, it's my opinion that you guys really, if you're really going to make a global difference, I mean, not just make a lot of money, which is good and important and all that, but if you're going to make a global difference, it's not enough to work with 800 women. You need to be working with 8,000 and 80,000 and 800,000 and 8 million and 80 million, because that's the only way you're really going to change the conversation and the culture. Otherwise, there'll just be a bunch of people that, you know, are doing really well, but the society as a whole isn't changed. And it's my belief that your business needs to be more than just a business. It needs to be a movement.
Oh, I love that you said that input positioned it in that way. And, you know, it sounds really cliche, but this job is not about just here's a meal plan, here's an exercise plan, and you need to have a good transformation so I can post it and show it off so I can get a new client. It is about human connection on a very deep level and a genuine reward, and for all of the coaches. And Amber's done a very good job of, I think, curating a team that are in this for a lot more than it just being a job. And our hearts have to be in it. And I mean, that's how movements start, is when you have that core group of people and they just keep plodding away and keep plodding away. And, you know, a little bit of a tangent, but I mean, every Monday night now, first of all, we have lots of meetings with our colleagues to upskill, share stories, cases. And now every Monday night, it was interesting. It's I can't even remember how long we've been doing it now, at least 3-4 months. But what started out as Amber saying, let's just have all the coaches who do in-person training get together on a Monday night just to kind of review what you know. It started as that. And now every single Monday we get together for 3 hours on a Monday evening, and we go over biomechanics, and it's about problem solving. And a lot of the theme is around how do you alleviate people's limited mobility and pain that they've had for years and liberate them from that. It's not about just building a body and muscle for a transformation. It's an internal transformation that we're looking to give people as well. I don't want to ever speak on behalf of Amber or the team, but this is my kind of sentiment about it.
That's a powerful sentiment. It's an amazing thing that you do that 3 hours on a Monday night to talk about biomechanics and problem solving. That's a level of dedication and commitment to human beings that's fantastic. From a messaging point of view, like Amber had me come and speak to you and the team about podcast guesting, which is one of the things that I did, and I was really glad to do it. And I also felt like everybody was just kind of looking, okay, it's nice. I know this fella, Nikki, he comes in here, he works with Hammer, but who the hell is he and why is he talking, right? To us right now is kind of the vibe that I got a lot of the time. Now, a bunch of time has passed and people have gotten to know me a little bit more. But I think about you guys a lot, and I follow you all on various social media, and I make sure to comment and to respond to all the coaches that I know that I see their stuff. But I really think what you guys are doing is important and special. One of the reasons I bring you on the podcast is that, and my vision, I'm hopeful that over time, some of the folks will come and do some of the courses that I offer to help them be able to get their message out, their word out in a bigger way and in a more powerful way. Because honestly, like I said, you guys are doing great, but 800 people, you need to 1,000x that sooner rather than later. And that's going to be very good for a lot of young women and young men. I mean, the folks from Man the F Up, I'm going to bring more of those guys on the show as well. Jace has been on, Amber himself has been on, but I'm going to bring on Josh and Vlad and those guys too.
Amazing.
You got to get out there. You got to keep sharing the message. And yes, social media is great, but nothing replaces this. This type of conversation is how you really build relationships. People do business. I'm a Gen Xer. I say this. People do business with people they know, like, and trust. What's the best way to get to know, like, and trust someone? Talk to them. And a podcast is nothing more than a conversation, an opportunity to talk to people. So,
you're so right.
I'm hopeful, and I'm taking a stand that over time there'll be a few of the coaches from your group that'll come and go, hey, that podcast thing, I'd like to talk to you about it. you know what I mean? Because I think it'll really change things for them. And the messaging of what you guys do, you need to put it out there more and more and more, because women need this, man. Women need this. I look at my woman, Teresa. You've met Teresa, right? She trains with Lindsay. She's a great girl. But she's been infected with this I don't want to get bulky disease, man. And she tells me, I don't want to be too big. I'm like, honey, that's not your problem. You got to understand that is not your problem. You know what I'm saying, babe? It's not your problem. No, but you don't understand. I'm like, all right, go talk to Lindsay. She'll talk to you. She'll help you figure it out. But getting too big is not on the horizon of things you need to keep your eye on.
But it's really good that this is why probing, and this is your job as a podcast host, is the probing. And as a coach, it's really important to probe, because you have to almost predict that a lot of women are thinking what Teresa is thinking, that they want to achieve a goal, but they have that concern, and they may be shy to, or they don't want to voice it, but we need to kind of proactively kind of feel for that, because it can be a barrier to progression that could be addressed through maybe more education, just having a conversation to really understand what those belief systems might be that they have. So, it's good that you shared that.
Yeah, those belief systems, those myths, there's some fitness myths that every woman needs to kind of abandon and stop believing,
Yeah.
And the sooner they stop believing those myths, the better for them. I think that's a beautiful thing. So, Janet, I just want to say at a personal level, I really enjoy every one of our conversations and interactions. You're a fantastic lady. You've got a lot of love and caring in your heart, and that's obvious. And I think it comes from being a mom to teenagers at some level. And it also comes from being a Newfoundland girl, because it was bred into you. So God bless you for that. If someone wants to get a hold of you or have a conversation with you about some of these topics that we've talked about and how it can help them transform their body, if a woman in particular wants to talk to you and learn how she can transform her body, what's the best way?
I'll tell you, I don't have I'm trying to get more of a social media presence. I have an Instagram account.
Yep.
Do you mind if I share that?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and this is of course me who doesn't know. It's Coach Janet, but there's a couple of underscores in there, Nikki. So I need to.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how many underscores are there.
It's all right. Just look it up and say it. We'll make sure it gets properly conveyed.
I think it's _1_ Coach Janet 1_ after. So _ Coach Janet _.
Okay, we'll make sure we put _ Coach Janet _ in the show notes. So listener, go to Instagram and reach out to Janet and get on her calendar and start transforming your body. You're going to feel so much better about yourself. For me, nothing has been more relevant and important to my success in the last year than taking on my health and fitness with the help of Amber and his incredible team. I dropped 58 pounds in the first 6 months, and I decided to do a bodybuilding competition. And now I've gained back. I initially gained back 24 of those pounds. Now I'm down another 4. And I'm excited about the competition. It's the Barry Naturals competition at the end of July. Wow. I've had a few injuries in the process, so I've had to modify how I train. And it's part of the process. Adversity is part of the process. So I just want to say to a listener, if you're thinking, should I check this out or shouldn't I? You absolutely should, 100%. And Janet, we end off every episode by asking you, as our guest expert, what are your top 3 expert action steps? These are your top 3 bullet point pieces of advice for me and my listener to take our life, our health, our fitness, our business to the next level. So what do you say?
One thing I think is really important is to do an evaluation of your life, like an inventory of your life. Find out where your constraints are and any fixed identities that you have, and figure out which ones aren't serving you anymore, and literally abandon them and start living the identity of the person you want to become. Even if you haven't gotten there yet, start living and believing that new identity. For example, I want to get fit. Then you start the next day, you need to say, I'm a fit person, for example. I think the second thing would be take calculated risks, but take risks in life and allow yourself the opportunity to pivot. You aren't stuck in anything that's not serving you. Don't stay there for too long. And then I guess the third thing would be it is never too late to transform your physique. Your mindset too, but your physique, it's never too late. You're never too old. It's the best gift you could give to yourself, and it will have an impact on your health, longevity, fitness, and well-being. So I hope that helps.
Yeah, these are great expert action steps. So inventory your life, look at what your constraints and fixed identities are, abandon them, take on the identity that you actually want to live into, take calculated risks, and it's never too late to transform your physique and even your mindset. I think these are great. Janet Brown, you're a rock star. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks to you for having me. I enjoyed it a lot. And thank you so much, Nikki.
It's an absolute pleasure. God bless you.
Thank you.
And that wraps up another exciting episode of the podcast, The Thought Leader Revolution. To find out more about today's amazing guest, Coach Janet Brown, go to _Coach Janet _ on Instagram, or go to the show notes at thethoughtleaderrevolution.com, or on iTunes, Spotify, Audible, Google Play, or what have you. Wherever you listen to this podcast, you'll be able to get in touch with her and you'll be able to have a wonderful conversation. She is an absolute sweetheart of a woman, and she's an absolute champion for women getting in the best shape of their lives, and she walks her talk. And that's important. You want to have a coach around you who walks her talk, not somebody who just talks at you but doesn't live it herself. She's a coach who walks her talk. That's powerful. That's important. So make sure you take advantage of this. At the very least, jump on a phone call with her. You'll be glad that you did. And she will show you a path to help take you from tragic to magic. You'll never have to feel bad about how you look, about how you feel. You'll never have to look at yourself in the mirror, see your belly hanging out, and be upset with yourself. You'll never have to say, I don't want to be naked with my significant other. You know, you're going to be excited to look at your body in the mirror. You're going to be excited to get naked with your significant other, because your significant other is going to go, holy shoot, girl, you look amazing. And that's what you want. You don't want to live a life where you're not feeling good about yourself. So do yourself a favor and take advantage of this. And if you enjoyed this episode, give it a like, give it a rating, give it a review, share it with somebody else who needs to hear this message. We're living in a time where there's a lot of people that are going through a lot of pain. You know, mental health issues are the number one issues that people face. And they're looking for answers. They're looking for inspiration. This podcast is the answer. This podcast is the source of that inspiration. Until next time, goodbye.
This episode has been brought to you by eCircleAcademy.com, the proven system to add 6 to 7 figures a year to your thought leader practice.